My name is Xenia Demopoulos. I have no reason to hide my identity, as I have accumulated immunity from the things I have done and the people I've hurt. He promised to protect me through all of my endeavors. So with that being said, a simple name can't hurt me. I was born in a small town located in Greece named Parga, and though I have since moved to the States, there is nothing left for me in my hometown, and I am sure you will come to understand why. It all started about a year ago. My family and I were celebrating my 19th birthday. Nothing too special. I was scrolling through Facebook and I noticed something was off. I only had around 70 people on my friends list, so when I saw an unknown name in my newsfeed, I was immediately confused. The name itself wasn't important. It was the post that had caught my eye. What would you do for $1 billion? Not often did my friends share things like this, not to mention in Greece, our currency is a euro. Perhaps it is because we pride ourselves in working hard for our money, and we don't take it lightly. I know you're supposed to be lighthearted about these kinds of things, but it just wasn't in our nature. I decided to step out of the norm and comment on it. Anything. I chuckled and I closed the app, ready to continue the celebration with my family. I was off to college soon and my year of traveling was over. Or at least I thought it was. I sat down at the table, the empty seat beside me becoming bothersome. I tried to put it out of my mind as my family smiled brightly at me while my mother brought out the cake. I felt my phone buzz in my pocket. My friend Cersei was running late, so I thought it was her. I let my mother set down my cake before opening the text. Ruin the cake. I was once again confused. The text had come from an unknown number. Of course, at the time, I thought it was just a friend messing with me, so I let the screen go black and I continued on with my party. Cersei never showed up, which was highly annoying, but I forgot about it eventually. I had plenty of friends and family present to make up for it. After a long night of celebrating and being surrounded by people, I decided to break away after most of my family had left. I walked down to the shoreline, basking in the moonlight and breathing in the fresh air. I would soon not have the privilege of this any longer, and I wanted to remember it. Of course I would come back to my hometown on vacation and such, but it wasn't the same. My phone buzzed yet again, bringing me out of my thoughts. Run into a moving car. It was from an unknown number yet again. Who is this? Run into a moving car. I decided to turn off my phone for the rest of the night, enjoying the water and the breeze until I went to bed. Upon waking up, I saw that I had another text. Cut your mother's hair off while she's sleeping. Who is this? You said you would do anything for $1 billion. Now cut your mother's hair off while she's sleeping. I laughed out loud. Somebody must have made a fake account and used my phone to add themselves. But how could they guarantee I would comment on their silly post? It was a shot in the dark on their end, but a prank nonetheless. That much I was certain of at that time. I had a wig from one of my old plays at school, so I decided to send them a picture with its locks of hair. Your mother's hair is blonde, and she is going to be waking up soon. If you want the money, I would suggest hurrying. Her alarm is set to go off in 10 minutes. I would have been scared had I known it wasn't a friend or a family member texting me. I mean, they would know the color of her hair, or even the time she started getting ready for work. It wasn't ominous, it was laughable. I exited my room and I peeked into my mother's to see her sound asleep. I smiled half-heartedly. In a week I would be studying in Spain, no longer in the comforts of my own home. You look so sad. It's just a piece of hair. My eyes darted around to take in my surroundings, but my mind could not be bothered with comprehending the gravity of the situation. Only 7 minutes until her alarm goes off, and she changes out of her gray nightgown and into her work uniform. 6 minutes. This is your last chance. After that, Cersei will be your only way to $1 billion. And I don't think you'd like that. A picture was attached to the message. Cersei was seemingly unconscious in the middle of a cement floor. I had no time to think and only to react. I grabbed a pair of scissors and hurriedly ran back into my mother's room. I cringed as I heard the snap. My mother adored her hair and I had ruined it. But if it wasn't a prank, a lock of hair was a small price to pay for my friend. After sending the photo, my phone buzzed. Good, you're one step closer. You didn't say that I had to do anything else. You said that you would do anything, and I intend to take advantage of that. Perhaps you should have been more specific. Better advice for next time. Dealing with my mother's anger wasn't easy. I felt unsafe explaining to her why I did it. Perhaps it would make the rest of this easy. She had refused to speak to me for the rest of the day. I was worried sick about Cersei. I waited another damn text with instructions. It wasn't about the money. It never was. It was now about her safety. The text finally came after midnight. Run into a moving car. They were repeating a text from earlier, and my delirious mind told me it was a mistake, that the text had just been sent by itself again. I knew better. Walking down the street wasn't easy. My legs barely complied with what I wanted. No, needed them to do. I would save Cersei at all costs. I lived in a residential area, so I was praying that 20 miles per hour wouldn't hurt too much. I waited on the side of the street, waiting to hear a car. My ear perked at the sound of an engine revving. It was coming from no more than 500 feet away. As the headlights shone at the top of the hill, I made my way to the middle of the street. It was coming too fast, much faster than the speed limit. I didn't have time to move or to think. I closed my eyes in anticipation and fear, waiting for my bones to be crushed and my blood to be drained. Seconds turned to minutes and I opened my eyes to the car inches away. They didn't honk, they didn't yell at me to move. They just sat there, headlights blinding me and fear rooting me in place. My phone went off and shortly after, the car drove around me and down the street, out of sight. It took what felt like years for me to sit down on the side of the road. My heart was pounding inside of my chest and my face was wet with sweat and tears. I took the phone out of my pocket and I opened the text. I thought about actually hitting you, but it wouldn't be as fun that way. Now that you are willing to die for your friend, are you willing to allow others to die as well? I stared at the message, dread setting into my already quivering body. What do you mean? But I knew what they meant. I just couldn't say it aloud. Doing that would ensure it was real, and I was immensely unprepared. You could start with a distant relative. It would be easy. Just slip into their house in the middle of the night and hold a pillow over their head. People pass away in their sleep all the time, and no one would be the wiser to what you did. It isn't easy pondering a family member's death, even more so when you're expecting to inflict it, no matter how merciful or gruesome it may be. Another buzz from my phone, this time only a picture. Cersei was dangling from a ceiling, her face caked with dirt and dried tears. I tried to think of a family member I would miss the least, or ones whose suffering I could end. None came to mind though, as we were all healthy and extremely close to one another. I had a grandma who had lived to be over a century. Cersei didn't deserve this though, and neither did any of my family members. And to be frank, I hadn't done anything massive enough for this curse to be bestowed upon me. I had simply commented on a public post. All of that didn't matter. If somebody was sly enough to capture Cersei with her family being in the dark about it, they had the potential to take out my entire family. I set out to my Uncle Nico's house. I don't know why I chose him, I just did. I waited for night to fall and did exactly as the text said. By daybreak, I was at home in the kitchen, preparing breakfast for my mother in an attempt to gain forgiveness for what I had done to her and her brother. She spoke to me in a tearful choke, and telling me how my aunt had discovered her late husband in the bed beside her. I held her as we both cried together, for separate reasons. The funeral was that day, as we all gathered around his gravesite and wept together. My aunt was holding a celebration of life at her house afterwards. With my family surrounding me, I felt guiltier by the second. They were all mourning the loss of their loved one, unaware his murderer was in the room with them. I had to step outside and take a deep breath. My phone buzzed and I cursed at it. I wanted to scream and to tell them all my sins, but I couldn't. Burn the house down. My entire family was in that house. Our funerals always had a big turnout due to how close we held family. I am a very impatient man. I am sure Cersei can agree to that much. The longer you wait, the worse her injuries will get. If you don't burn it down, I will. And then I will proceed to kill Cersei and you will live the rest of your life alone. I will live the rest of my life in jail. This is my family. Isn't there another way? I can assure you that the police will never know you did it. Burn the house down. Say your goodbyes. I walked back inside, a numbing pain coursing through my heart. Family is everything to me. My mother alone has helped me through so much. I hugged them all and told them that I would be back in a while and that I just needed to clear my head. I drove for miles, my phone buzzing off and on, and the gravel underneath my tires indicated I had arrived at my destination, though my mind had been on autopilot. In front of me was the house Cersei and her boyfriend lived at. The second picture had given it away. If my diminished sanity still believed this was a prank, it was a sick one. I exited my car and I walked straight to the cellar door. My legs were sure of themselves this time. I opened the door and I walked inside, seeing Cersei sitting in the corner of the basement next to Xander, and no injuries were noticeable on her body. Their eyes widened as they saw me. I didn't wait for them to speak or to move. I raised my gun towards them. What would you do for $1 billion? Would you beg for your life? Sacrifice yourself for your lover? And they cowered in fear before me. We didn't expect it to go this far, Xenia. I swear it. Cersei was the first one to speak, her eyes betraying her voice. You're a liar. My voice was unwavering and cold. You forced me to do so many vile things. My uncle is dead because of you. And that was your decision, not ours. And the money is yours. We're sorry for your loss. This doesn't have to go any further. Xander was attempting to distract me, but I saw his hand move. The icy anxiety had made my vision somehow keener. My ears rang as the gun went off, the bullet hitting Xander somewhere below his chest. My body felt like it had needles pricking it all over the place. Cersei let out a sob. The numbness was overwhelming. I don't really remember shooting her, but I did. She crumbled to the floor. I took care of the scene, scribbling out a suicide note that was hopefully believable. He promised me immunity, and I was ensuring it would happen. I took the money with me, spent the rest of my days with my grieving family, and I relocated to the States. I needed a place to vent my frustrations, to relay my emotions in the events of the past week. I planned to visit my family during winter break, but I can't even get the courage to contact them presently. My mother is suspicious of me, not staying to mourn the loss of my friends. How tragic, she had said. If I tell her the truth, I will be disowned and imprisoned. But, I guess, I know what I would do for $1 billion.